1. Introduction. My name is Daniela. I am 24 years old, and today is a very important day. It is my first day at my new job. I stood in front of a very large house on a hill, looking up at it. The house was much bigger than any house I had ever seen before. It was like a palace from an old storybook, with tall walls and many windows. The gates were made of heavy black iron, and they were very high. I pushed the gate open and walked up the long stone path to the front door. Beautiful, green gardens were on both sides of the path. Big windows looked down at me like giant, empty eyes. My heart was beating very fast inside my chest. I felt very nervous. My simple blue dress was clean, but I felt small and out of place in this grand setting. I held my small bag tightly in my hands. I was here to work as a maid. I needed this job very much, so I tried to look brave. I hoped the people who lived inside were kind. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Then I knocked on the huge, dark wooden door. The sound was loud in the quiet air. I waited for a moment. Then the door opened. A man stood there. I knew he must be the owner of the house, Mr. Ben Carter. He was very tall, with thick, dark hair and a strong face. He was very handsome, like a man from a magazine, but his eyes were not warm or friendly. They were a cold, dark blue color, like a deep lake in the middle of winter. He looked at me and his face was completely serious. There was no smile on his lips. His suit was dark and expensive, and he looked very powerful and important. I felt even more nervous standing in front of him. "You are Daniela?" he asked. His voice was low and formal. It was not a welcoming sound. "Yes, sir," I answered quietly. My own voice sounded small and weak. He looked at me from my head down to my simple shoes. His look was quick, but it made me feel like he was checking me for faults. He did not see me, the person. He saw a new worker, another employee to clean his very big house. It was clear from his expression that I was not important to him. He was just my boss. He turned away from the door without another word. "Follow me," he said. He did not wait to see if I was ready. He just walked into the giant hall. I quickly followed him inside. The inside of the house was even bigger and more amazing than the outside. The floor was made of shiny white marble. A huge, beautiful light, a chandelier, hung from the very high ceiling. Everything was silent and felt a little empty. As I watched him walk in front of me, his back straight and his steps sure, I felt a strange feeling in my chest. It was a pull, a strange connection to this cold, handsome man. I did not understand this feeling at all. He was not kind to me. He did not smile, but I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to see the person behind the cold eyes. This feeling was confusing, and it was also a little bit scary. My new life in this palace-like house started with a silent, serious man and a strange new feeling in my heart. 2. Working in the big house, my new life in the big house began. Every day was the same. I woke up when the sun was still sleeping and started my cleaning. The house was so big, with many rooms. There were long hallways with dark wood floors and tall windows that looked out at the green gardens. Each morning, I saw Ben in the big dining room. He always sat at the head of the long table. He drank his coffee and read the newspaper. His face was always serious, and he never looked up when I entered the room to dust the furniture. Sometimes he said, "Good morning," but his voice was quiet and low. He never said more than 2 words. The house was beautiful, but it was also very silent. The silence made me feel a little lonely sometimes. I worked hard every day. I wanted to do a good job. I cleaned the large living room with its soft sofas and big fireplace. I polished the silver until I could see my own face in it. While I worked, I sometimes had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I would turn around quickly, and for a moment, I would see Ben. He would be standing in a doorway or at the top of the big staircase, just looking at me. His expression was hard to read. When he saw that I saw him, he would turn away and leave without saying a word. This happened many times. It made my heart beat a little faster. Why did he watch me like that? One day, I was helping the cook, an older woman named Sophia, in the kitchen. She was kind and had worked in the house for many years. I asked her, "Why is Mr. Ben so quiet?" Sophia stopped cutting vegetables and looked at me. She spoke in a low voice. "He was not always like this," she said. "He used to smile more." She told me that about 1 year ago, a new maid started working here. Ben trusted her, but she was not a good person. She stole something very important from him, Sophia explained. It was a piece of jewelry that belonged to his mother. After Sophia told me the story, I understood. Ben was not just a cold man, he was a man who was hurt. He was afraid to trust anyone again. My heart felt sad for him. From that moment, I had a new reason to be here. I did not just want to do my job. I wanted to prove to him that I was different. I wanted to show him that I was honest and that he could trust me. I wanted to see him smile just once. I was determined to change the sad look in his eyes. 3, seeing a different side. One evening, my work finished later than usual. My last job for the day was to clean the library. The house was very quiet at night. I walked into the big room with my duster. The library was my favorite room in the house. There were thousands of books on tall shelves that went all the way to the ceiling. Usually, the room was empty. But tonight, it was different. A small lamp was on next to a large, comfortable chair. In the soft light, I saw Ben. He was sitting alone in the dark. He was not reading his newspaper or a book. He was just sitting there, looking at a glass in his hand. He did not see me enter the room. I stood by the door for a moment and watched him. he looked different. His face was not cold and serious like always. Tonight, his face was full of sadness. His eyes were tired, and he looked lost in his thoughts. For the first time, I did not feel nervous around him. I felt worried for him. I walked quietly into the room. I did not want to make a sound, but I could not just leave. "Sir," I said softly, "are you okay?" He looked up, surprised. His eyes were dark, and he did not like me seeing him like this. "Leave," he said. His voice was low and rough. It was not an angry shout, but a tired command. I felt my face get warm. I should not have spoken. I turned to walk away. As I did, my eyes saw something on the small table next to his chair. It was a photograph in a beautiful silver frame. In the picture, Ben stood next to a woman. He looked so happy. He had a big, real smile, a smile I had never seen before. But the woman was a mystery. I could see her dress and her hair, but her face was gone. Someone had carefully cut her face out of the photo. I left the room without saying another word and gently closed the big wooden door behind me. That night in my small room, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about Ben in the library. I thought about his sad eyes and the broken photograph. Who was that woman? And why did someone cut her out of the picture? I realized there was a story behind Ben's cold walls. He was not just a rich, serious man. He was a man with a sad past. I saw a different side of him tonight, and it made me want to understand him even more. 4. A broken vase. One quiet afternoon, I was in the kitchen, wiping the counters. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Gable, was also there. She was polishing a large, beautiful vase. It was dark blue with gold lines. It looked very old and expensive. Mrs. Gable was always very careful with the special things in the house. She did not like me to touch them. I finished the counters and started to wash the floor. Suddenly, I heard a terrible crash. I looked up. The beautiful blue vase was on the floor in 100 pieces. Mrs. Gable stood with her hands over her mouth. Her face was white. Then she looked at me. Her eyes were not scared anymore. They were angry. "You did this," she shouted. "You were careless. Mr. Ben will be very angry." "No," I said. My voice was small. "I didn't touch it. I was on the other side of the room." But she did not listen. She continued to shout. The noise brought Ben to the kitchen. He stopped at the door and looked at the broken vase. Then he looked at Mrs. Gable, and finally his eyes stopped on me. They were not just cold. They were full of anger. My whole body felt cold. "What happened?" he asked. His voice was low and dangerous. "She broke it, sir," Mrs. Gable said quickly. "She was not careful." Ben did not look at the housekeeper. He only looked at me. "Daniela, did you break my mother's vase?" My heart felt like a stone. He thought I did it. The other maid stole from him, and now he thought I was careless and a liar. I looked straight into his angry eyes. "No, sir," I said clearly. "I did not." He looked at me for a long time. It felt like an hour, but it was only a few seconds. He did not say I was lying. He did not say he believed me. He said nothing. He just turned around and walked out of the kitchen. That night, I could not sleep. I cried in my small room. I was sure he was going to fire me. I even started to pack my small bag. The next morning, I went to the kitchen with a heavy heart. I was ready for Mrs. Gable to tell me to leave, but the kitchen was clean. The broken pieces of the vase were gone. Mrs. Gable was there, but she did not look at me. She did not speak. No one said a word about the vase. It was like yesterday never happened. I did not understand. I did not lose my job, but I did not know what Ben believed. 5. A rainy night talk. The sound of the rain was loud that night. It hit the big windows of the living room again and again. I was finishing my work and getting ready to go to my room. I liked the sound of rain when I was safe inside. I checked the rooms to make sure all the windows were closed. The wind was strong. When I went into the main living room, I saw that the doors to the balcony were open. Rain was coming inside and making the floor wet. I walked to the doors to close them. Then I saw a person standing on the balcony. It was Ben. He was standing in the heavy rain and he was completely wet. His white shirt was stuck to his body and his hair was flat on his head. He was looking out at the dark, wet garden. He did not see me. "Mr. Ben," I said quietly. I did not want to scare him. He turned around slowly. He looked very tired. His eyes were not cold like usual. They were just sad. "Daniela," he said. His voice was low. "You are all wet. You will get sick," I said. "Please come inside." He walked inside and I closed the glass doors. Water dripped from his clothes onto the expensive rug. "My car had a problem on the road," he explained. "I had to walk the last part of the way home." I felt sorry for him. I did not know what to do. "I can make you some hot tea," I offered. It was the only thing I could think of. He looked at me, and then he did something I never saw before. He smiled. It was not a big smile, but it was real and warm. It changed his whole face. My heart started to beat very fast. "Thank you, Daniela. I would like that very much," he said. I went to the kitchen. My hands were shaking a little when I made the tea. I brought a cup to him. He was sitting on a sofa. He took the cup from me, and our fingers touched for a second. We sat in the quiet room and listened to the rain. We started to talk. It felt different. He asked me about my family. I told him about my small town. Then he became quiet for a moment. He looked into his cup. "I know I am not an easy person to work for," he said. "I do not trust people easily." He told me about the woman in the photograph, the one with the face cut out. He said she was his ex-partner. They were going to get married, but she only loved his money. When he had a problem with his business, she left him. "She showed me that some people only care about money," he said. His voice was full of pain. Now I understood. I understood his cold eyes and his sad nights in the library. My heart hurt for him. We talked until after midnight. That night, I did not see a cold master. I saw a man with a broken heart. 6. The unwanted visitor. The next few days were quiet and happy. I felt a new connection with Ben after our long talk on the rainy night. One morning, I was carefully dusting the books in his study. The sun was shining through the large window, and I felt peaceful. Suddenly, the study door opened without a knock. A woman stood there. I had never seen her before. She was tall and very elegant in a bright red dress that looked expensive. Her hair was perfectly styled, and her lips were painted a matching shade of red. She carried a small, fashionable handbag. Her eyes moved around the room, and then they stopped on me. She looked at my simple maid's uniform with a look of dislike. I immediately felt small and unimportant under her cold stare. "And who are you?" she asked. Her voice was high and sharp. "I am Daniela. I work here," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. She walked further into the room, her high heels clicking on the wooden floor. "I see," she said, though she did not sound interested. "Well, Daniela, I have a message for you. Stay away from Ben. He is a very important man, and he does not have time for games with the staff." She paused, letting her words sink in. "He and I are going to be married very soon, so you should just do your job and keep out of his way." Her words were like a slap in the face. My heart started to beat very fast. Was this the woman he told me about, the one who left him for money? I could not find any words to say. She gave a small, cold smile and then turned and left the room as quickly as she had arrived. I just stood there, holding my dust cloth. Later, when Ben came home, he found me. I tried to look normal, but he could see that I was upset. "Daniela, what happened?" he asked gently. He led me to a chair in the quiet library. I told him everything the woman had said. Ben's face grew dark with anger. "Her name is Isabella," he said, his voice low. "She was my fiancée a long time ago, but that is over. She is lying to you. We are not getting married." He looked tired. "I am sorry she said those things to you. She likes to cause problems." But Isabella's visit had started a fire. In the following days, I felt the other staff watching me. They stopped talking when I entered a room. I heard their whispers. "She is trying to catch the master," one cook said to another. "She only wants his money." Every whisper felt like a small stone thrown at me. It hurt so much because it was not true. I wanted to leave, to run away from their unkind words. But then I remembered Ben's face when he told me the truth. He trusted me. I could not run. I had to be strong and prove that my love was real. 7. Honest feelings. Ben was away on a business trip for 5 days. The big house felt quiet and empty without him. Daniela continued her work, but she felt his absence in every room. She missed seeing him in the morning with his newspaper. When she heard his car return, she felt both happy and nervous. The next day, the housekeeper found Daniela cleaning the hallway. "Mr. Ben wants to see you in his study," she said. Daniela's heart started to beat very fast. Her hands were shaking, so she wiped them on her apron. She was scared. Why did he want to see her? Was she in trouble because of the whispers from the other staff? She walked slowly to the study door and knocked. "Come in," Ben's voice called from inside. She opened the door and stepped into the room. Ben was not sitting at his desk. He was standing by the window, looking out at the garden. He turned to look at her. His eyes were not cold today. They looked warm and serious. He was quiet for a long moment, and the silence made Daniela more nervous. "Daniela," he finally said, his voice soft. "Thank you for coming." He paused, then said the words she never expected to hear. "I missed you." Daniela could not breathe for a second. Her heart felt like it stopped and then started again, beating faster than before. Ben took a step closer to her. "I had a lot of time to think when I was away," he said. "I thought about our talk on the balcony. I thought about your honesty. I realized something very important." He looked directly into her eyes. "Daniela, I trust you." For Daniela, those 3 words were more beautiful than any love poem. Happy tears filled her eyes. "I have feelings for you," Ben continued, his voice quiet. "I think I have had them for a long time, but I am afraid. It is hard for me to trust my heart with someone again." Now it was Daniela's turn to be brave. She had to tell him her own honest feelings. "I have feelings for you, too," she said, her voice a little shaky. "I think I have loved you from the first day I met you." A real, warm smile finally lit up Ben's face. He closed the small space between them and gently touched her cheek. "You are so different," he whispered. He leaned down and kissed her. It was a soft, careful kiss, full of unspoken words and new hope. It was their first kiss, and it felt like a new beginning. 8, our new life. The months after our first kiss were full of happiness. Ben was a different person. His eyes were not cold anymore. They were warm and full of love when he looked at me. We spent a lot of time together. We walked in the gardens and talked for hours. He told me about his business, and I told him about my family. He laughed at my stories, and his smile was the most beautiful thing in the world. Some of the other staff in the house still whispered. They looked at me and then talked quietly to each other. I knew what they were saying. They thought I was with Ben for his money. At first, their words hurt me, but Ben held my hand and told me not to listen. He said our love was the only thing that was important, so we ignored them. We lived in our own happy world inside the big house. One warm evening, Ben took me for a walk in the garden. The moon was bright and the air smelled like flowers. He stopped near a white bench. He looked a little nervous. He took both of my hands and looked into my eyes. "Daniela," he said softly. Before you came here, this was just a house. It was big and empty. You made it a home. My heart started to beat very fast. He then got down on one knee. He opened a small, dark blue box. Inside was the most beautiful ring I had ever seen. You were never just my maid, he said. His voice was shaking a little. You are my heart. Will you marry me? Tears of joy ran down my face. I could not speak, so I just nodded my head. Yes, I finally whispered. Yes, Ben, I will marry you. We got married 3 months later. It was a small, beautiful wedding in the garden of the big house. Our closest friends were there. I wore a simple white dress. When I said, I do, I knew my life was complete. After the wedding, I was not a worker in the house anymore. I was Ben's wife. Sometimes, I still liked to clean a room or arrange flowers in a vase. It felt different now. I was not doing it for a job. I was doing it for our home. I often remembered my first day. I came to this house as a quiet maid, afraid of its owner. I never imagined I would stay forever as his wife.
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.